Well, how you doing? And thanks for watching this video. And well, back to my fantasy playlist of November 20th, 1983. Counting down this fantasy playlist. Another one from the 80s, from 1983. Second highest debut record on this fantasy playlist. There were, let's see, 6 or 7 debut records on this fantasy playlist. I already covered about 4 or 5 of them. DeBarge, Time Will Reveal. Will Reveal debuting at number 30 on this fantasy playlist. DeBarge, a family group. Reminiscent of the Jackson 5, though not as commercially successful as the Jackson 5. They were popular for about 3 years. They really hit it big, Rhythm of the Night, 1985, which was written by Diane Warren. And she also wrote another song of theirs off that same album, The Heart Is Not So Smart. Remember that one? That went to number 75 on Billboard's Hot 100. Probably more of an adult contemporary hit, that one, than a pop R&B hit per se. And you might remember that song, You Wear It Well. And a friend of mine told me he saw that song being featured on an episode of Miami Vice. It's something how all these memories come back on you. But let's go back. By the way, that album from Rhythm of the Night is on. Oh, God, they went all out on that album. You won't believe it. 3 big producers worked on that album with them, including David Foster, Richard Perry, and Giorgio Moroder, disco producer who worked with Donna Summer on that album. But now let's go back to 1983. Time Will Reveal was from the album In a Special Way. It was their third album. Their first album was the DeBarges, I believe it was called the DeBarges, and then All This Love came out in 1982. You might remember the first single off that album, first song I heard by DeBarge, it was the winter and early spring of 1983. I like it. Nice, just a fetching R&B number, Quiet Storm record, and one radio station that played it was WCAU. Remember WCAU in Philadelphia? They played that one, and they had a huge playlist. Their playlist of new records at the time was like 40, 50, or 60. Wish we had a radio station like that down here in Birmingham, down here in Tuscaloosa and Birmingham, but no cigar. Some people are just luckier than others. Back to DeBarge. DeBarge wrote this record, or at least he wrote most of it. There's 2 slightly different variations of this theme. DeBarge, DeBarge, he sat down on piano, came up with the title. First line of the song he came up with, What Can I Do to Make You Feel Secure? And that was it. The epiphany kicked in. He knew where this song was going. He knew the theme. He arranged it. Took him about 2 weeks to lay down the vocals to this record. He'd sing a little bit and take a day or 2 off and then go back and maybe redo some vocals. And he wanted to feel this record. He wanted to live this thing. This thing had to be organic, basically organic. And here's an interesting tidbit. Man, this is just something. It's stuff like this. It's finding out info like this that makes doing these videos worthwhile. When DeBarge was recording, he took care of his voice. He drank copious amounts of tea when he was recording in the studio without sugar and honey. He would not put honey in his tea because honey would coat your throat and make your throat feel smooth, very smooth. And you'd think, well, that's a good thing, isn't it? Your throat feeling really smooth when you're singing. Well, no, according to DeBarge, it makes you over-sing because you don't feel the strain. And, well, boy, isn't that something right there? Time Will Reveal at number 30 on my fantasy playlist, and I'm just trying to think if there's anything else I need to add. Yeah, there's another variation to the story how this song came about, that the group members were sitting around their home. DeBarge was at his piano and his keyboard and started singing parts. And his sister, Bunny, wrote the bridge to this record. And they had the song done by the time they got to the recording studio. All the parts were laid out. Well, either way, the song debuts at number 30 on my fantasy playlist of November 20th, 1983. DeBarge. Time will reveal.